بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. Wa hayyikum bi tahiyyatil Islam, tahiyatan thayyibah mubarakah min indillah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wal 'aqibatu lil muttaqin wa la 'udwana illa 'alal zalimin. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, Alhamdulillah, we are yet being given another opportunity to meet again virtually, even though we are like 1,000 kilometers apart, but we are close at heart, inshallah. And we meet again for the third time in our series of lectures in Professional Khalifa. And I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to my dear brother, Brother Nazir Atullah, for this arrangement of this auspicious ceremony. To Brother Burhan for the opening remark earlier this morning. To Sister Rashidah for the beautiful recitation of Al-Quran from the last verses of few last verses of Surah Al-Mu'minun, and then also a little bit of introduction by Dr. Saida just now, and to all of the fellow audience, thank you very much for coming. May Allah give us the barakah and rahmah and make this session beneficial to each and every one of us. Alhamdulillah. So I hope that you can hear me well and you can see me well. If you can hear me well and you can see me well, just type number 2 in the chat box. Okay, if you can see me well and you can hear me well, just type number 2 in the chat box. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so we are going to begin, but I would like to pick up a little bit from the verse mentioned by Sister Rashida just now, where at the end of the last few verses of the Surah Al-Mu'minun, there was like a conversation, like a conversation with the people, that how long do you stay on earth? And then you say that, like maybe like a few minutes, like a few days. So we talk about days, it's just about time. It's just about time. So and we are going to talk about time in a short while after this. And then later on, Allah asked a very important question to us, and that question is relevant until now. And Allah asks, "Afahasibtum annama khalaqnakum abatha?" Simple question, that is it that my creation on you is something that is with no purpose? So my dear friends, what we are doing right now is full of purpose. And every little second, every little minute in our life, we are going to be answerable. We are going to be accountable later on in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for the verse being read just now, it should have given us a very big impact to make us ready to make full use of our time, so that we can become a better Muslim, a better professional Muslim. And inshallah, the topic today is going to talk about that. Okay, so slowly let us move into the slides. Okay, my dear friends, can you see my slide? Time management.
Yes, Abu Hajar, it's visible.
So I can continue now. Okay, so when talk about time management, also, but before that, welcome everyone. When talk about time management, first of all, I would like, before we go very far forward, let us give a simple definition. What does it mean by time management? Okay, in LHI consulting, we see time management as something as defined like this. Okay, time management is defined by the following. Okay, all right. Number one, time management is actually the self-discipline and the process. Two things. Okay, it's about self-discipline and process of organizing and planning. How do you divide your time between specific activities, especially to enhance your effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity? Yeah. So from here, we can make a simple conclusion. Number one, time management is not just about science. Time management, more importantly, is talk about self-discipline. Okay, and what is the main outcome? So that we become effective, efficient, and productive. And our efficiency, our effectiveness, and our productivity as Muslims will be measured and will be assessed in Yaumul Qiyamah. Okay, so because of that, the process towards arriving towards effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity, this is where we need to put the balance between the time that we have and the activity that we feel in our time. Yeah, so let me clear this screen and let me read it one more time so that this definition sticks nicely in our head. Time management is not just about the process. It's more important to talk about the self-discipline. Okay, in organizing and planning how to divide our time between specific activities, especially to enhance our effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity at work, at home, with the Jama'ah, with the community, with the friends, as a Muslim. Okay, everything needs to be measured in terms of effectiveness and efficiency. Okay, so enough about that in terms of giving in giving the definition. Now let me highlight that. Let me highlight what are the main objectives that we are going to achieve in this particular program today. Number one, I'm going to go very quickly on the review of professional Khalifa and link what we have discussed before with what we are going to discuss later today. Yeah, so I'm going to go very quickly on the revision of professional Khalifa. And number two, we are going to talk about the principles of time management. And I have mentioned to you earlier, time management is all about self-discipline and the process, the science of it. Okay. And number three, we are going to share with you the techniques and the tools. How can we manage our time effectively and efficiently so that we can become very, very productive as an individual, very productive within our career, whether you are an engineer, whether you are a doctor, whether you are an architect, whether you are a lecturer, a teacher, a housewife, a student, you can be very, very productive by using this, inshallah, some of these tools that we are going to talk about later today. So very quickly, let us move into our first topic, professional Khalifa. Very quickly, because this one we have discussed it previously. So we talk about professional Khalifa. We have broken it up into four elements. Khalifa in terms of a ruler, successor, steward, and leader. And we focus professional Khalifa as leader. So we talk about professional Muslim Khalifa. We're talking about professional Muslim leader. Yeah. And then these are the four dimensions of professional Khalifa. And when we talk about being professional, we talk about being successful in dunya and also being successful in akhirah. Okay, so what we are going to be responsible in dunya with the time that we have. How do we utilize our time that Allah has given us in dunya so that we can produce something magnificent and we can reap the benefit later on in the akhirah? And that's how we define professional Khalifa in the perspective of time management. Okay, so let us move on. Okay, uh, the world are changing right now very, very rapidly. Okay, and we want to continue to be relevant as a Muslim, as an individual, and also the family, the community of Muslim need to stay relevant. So we need to stay strong with the tornado of change out there. Okay, the tornado of change out there have forced us to not only accept the change, but more importantly, to plan on how to adapt to the new environment. The new environment that we are facing right now is unprecedented, something that is totally new that require us to 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 do a lot of necessary changes, and that require how we utilize our time. Okay, and change is exponential and is getting more and more intense. So meaning there are a lot of new things coming up in the future, and our time remain the same 24 hours a day, 24 hours in a week. This one remain the same. Everybody has the same time, has the same value of time, but the challenge is getting more and more intense. So how do we manage our time? That remain a very, very important discussion that we are going to explore in a short while. Okay, so because of the tornado, okay, if we are not ready or if we are ready. So this is a question. So if we are ready, then you become a victor. If you are not ready, then you become the victim of the situation. And when talk about readiness, it has a lot to do on how do you manage your time. Okay, your readiness in is depending very much on how you manage your time. If you manage your time successfully and you become very effective, efficient, and productive, inshallah, you become the victor in dunya and also in akhirah. But if you are not ready, you fail to manage your time and you fail miserably, laqad qalallah, we do not want this to happen. You become the victim of the situation. Yeah. So this is the scenario that I want to relate very, very quickly. And because of that, as leaders, we need to be able to become the professional Khalifa. We need to be able to manage the transactional mode in our life and also the transformational mode in our life. Okay, the transactional mode and transformational mode. So the transactional mode talks about the current needs, and transformational mode talks about the future needs. And it's all require how do we manage the time. Okay, so that's a little bit on the quick snapshot what we have discussed previously, and how will it slowly get connected with what we are going to discuss later on today. Yeah, so let us continue in our discussion. Okay, let me clear the screen. Okay, so now we are going to move into our second topic, the principles of time management. Okay, before we move into the practical part of time management, we talk about the principles of time management. Okay, first of all, you know, if you are successful or if you fail to manage your time, there is always a symptom. Okay, and what are the symptoms of poor time management? Let us explore this topic one by one. My dear friends, I want to talk about the symptoms of poor time management. Number one, the sign is you will always be in a hurry. Okay, if you fail to manage your time effectively and efficiently, you are always in a hurry. You are always rushing for things. And when you are rushing for things, it will affect your decision making. Yeah. And how can you be a professional Khalifa, a respectable professional Khalifa, if your decision making is questionable? So it has a lot to do with your level of professionalism if you fail to manage your time effectively. Again, what are the symptoms of poor time management? Time management is also related to anger. Yeah, it relates to anger because it will put people in a stressful situation and it will easily spark anger among the people, depression. Okay, when stressful situation become more and more and more, and become depression. What more if you cannot achieve what you want to achieve? You cannot make decisions on what you're supposed to make the decision. Then you become depressed. Then people start missing deadlines. Okay, then insufficient time for self-development. When you are too busy attending problems, when you are too busy firefighting, when you are too busy doing the same routine job day in and day out and day in and day out, then what happens? You have the insufficient time for your own self-development. You don't have the time to memorize the new surah in Al Quran. You don't have the time to go to the majlis ilm to gain the new knowledge because you are too busy on something else. You are too busy managing your family, and you don't have time to increase your ibadah of nawafil. Okay, so these are the signs of people who have problems with time management. What else? Then things become overwhelmed. You'll be overwhelmed by the environment. You'll be overwhelmed by the work, and your life become out of control. You are no longer maneuvering your own life. Your life is decided and determined by the environment, and that is dangerous. And finally, people start blaming others. So these are 8 little things that I can think of as the symptoms of poor time management. And do you agree with me? All 8 of these does not reflect us as a professional Khalifah. A professional Khalifah should be calm. It should be able to focus and make timely and effective decisions. They are able to control their anger and control their depression. They are always ahead of their deadlines. Okay, they're always ahead of the deadlines, deliver their tasks before the deadlines, and then they are able to improve themselves. They are able to put things under control, and they don't blame others, but they put things on how they can improve themselves. Okay, now let us take a look at the critical success factor for time management. What are the critical success factors for time management? Number 1, none other than self-discipline. Okay, if you don't have the right self-discipline, you can never have the successful time management. Okay, so self-discipline is super important in managing the time. It is not about the tools that you have. Even though you don't have the necessary tools, but your self-discipline will help you to manage the time correctly and effectively. Let me give you an analogy. What do I mean by self-discipline? My dear friends, brothers and sisters, if an individual has a problem with finance and he or she has a lot of debt, okay, he or she has a lot of debt, how do you help this individual to solve his problem? Is giving him more money help him to solve the problems? Okay, is giving this individual who has problem with debt, by giving him more money will help him solving the problems? Maybe yes, but ultimately no. What is the ultimate solution to a person who has problem in managing the finance and managing the debt? And my dear friends, do you agree with me? The ultimate solution for that is self-discipline. Okay, self-discipline. So, because I worked so long with the Japanese environment, okay, I worked so long with the Japanese environment, and I can see that for the Japanese, valuing the time is among the top 3 areas that they put priority on people, on employees, on management, on leadership, on even school children. So to me, either cleanliness, respecting others, and time management. These 3 are super, super important. And what is the underlying principle? It's all about self-discipline. So in order to manage the finance successfully, it's all about self-discipline. So similarly, in order to manage our time, it's all about self-discipline. And furthermore, in our Quran, Allah begins the following surah by taking an oath about time at the beginning of this surah. Okay, Ad-Duha, Surah Ad-Duha, Surah Ash-Shams, Surah Al-Fajr, Surah Al-Layl, and finally Surah Al-Asr. Yeah. Why Allah begin these 5 surahs by taking an oath on time? Wal Asr, Allah taking an oath on the time of Asr. What duha wal layli idha saja? Why Allah taking an oath on the time of duha? There are many hikmah, but one of them is to teach and tell us so that we are conscious about the time that we are in at that particular moment, and we are conscious that we need to deliver the best and be effective with our time. Okay, so this is where by Allah taking an oath on this particular surah, as if Allah is telling us that, look, you need to be cautious about time, and time is all about self-discipline. And Allah constantly reminding it that we need to put it as our self-discipline. So that is number 1. To me, the critical success factor is all about self-discipline. Later on, I will tell you and link how does this is relevant to you. Okay, how it is relevant to you. As a student, in order to be able to complete all the assignments and everything within the specific time, you need to have the self-discipline. As an engineer, as a doctor, as a lecturer, definitely you have tasks. Definitely you have projects. Definitely you have jobs to do, and everything has their own deadlines. Then what make you become a professional Khalifah? By having a self-discipline and conscious about the time. And Alhamdulillah, as a Muslim, we are cautious about the time 5 times in a day. For example, in Malaysia now, Dhuhr, the time for Dhuhr is 5 minutes after 1. So it is thought that in order for us to get the biggest ajar, you need to make yourself ready by 1:05 to go to the musalla in order to perform the salah together with the jama'ah. And when you do it again and again and again and be cautious about the time, then it is all about instilling the self-discipline. Okay, that is number 1. Okay, and number 2, it's all about the process. It's all about the process. When talk about the process, we will talk about the techniques of time management. We will talk about the tools of time management. Okay, this can be, we can talk about this one later. So there are 2 very important things that I want to highlight when talk about the critical success factor. Number 1 is self-discipline, and number 2 is the process. This one can be taught. This one can be taught, but this one is difficult to teach. Very difficult to teach. You need to have a very strong faith and iman with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order for you to be cautious about the time. Because you can have an individual who are very punctual to perform the salah in the masjid, tip top, to be the first in the saf to perform the prayer. but they have problem in delivering their job to the customer. The very same person to be the first in masjid, but they have problem in fulfilling the promises, in delivering the job and task to the management, to the customer. The very same person is number one in the masjid, but have problem with punctuality at work. As a Muslim, this should not happen. What happened between us in the musalla, in the masjid, should be embedded in us and become the second nature in our life when we talk about the time management. Yeah. So that is the reason why for us, to me, the self-discipline is polished with our iman. Okay. But for the Japanese, they are so very punctual and they don't have the iman. What do they have? They have the pride of not to be ashamed in front of everybody. So they don't want to be humiliated. They don't want to feel ashamed. So that is the reason why they make it something like a self-discipline, so that they can follow the time regularly. But for us Muslims, it is not just about self-pride. It is talking about iman. And we supposed to be much forward when talk about punctuality, when talk about time management. Okay? At this stage, my dear friends, is it clear to everybody? If it is clear to you, please type number 3 on the chat box. Okay, if it is clear to you, please type number 3 in the chat box. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So let us move on. Let us move on in our discussion. So we are done with this. Okay, we are done with it. Let me clear this and let me move forward. Okay, my dear friends, I want to give you a simple simulation. Okay, I want to give a simple simulation. If it is the real classroom training, we will give these 4 objects to the participants. But since it's a virtual training, so I just want you to imagine the following 4 items. We have a beaker, and then we have A, the rocks, and then we have B, the pebbles or the medium rocks, and then we have C, the sands. Okay, all the rocks, the pebbles, and the sand can fill inside the beaker until the top. They can fill inside the beaker until the top. Yeah, rocks, pebbles, and sands need to be filled inside the beaker, and it will fill until the top. So my question to you is, my dear friends, my dear brothers and sisters, which one do you start with first? You start with rocks and then pebbles and then sands, or you start with sands, pebbles, or rocks, or you start with pebbles, sands, and then later rocks. I just want you to put in the chat box. Okay, please put your answer in the chat box. Which one would you put first in the beaker? You either type A, B, put in the sequence, either ABC or BCA or CBA. Yeah, so I'm going to give like 30 seconds. 30 seconds, please put your answer in the chat box. Which one do you put first? That one is the first letter, and then move on to the second letter, and then you move on to the second letter. So let's take a look at your answer. Okay. Okay, so almost all of you, put A, B, and C, and then there is a very interesting question from Habib. He mentioned that we are now more attracted towards putting the sand and how to avoid. Okay, Brother Habib, we will discuss this later. Okay, we will discuss this later, how to avoid this from happening. Yeah. So I want to share with you a video clip. Okay, I want to show you with the video clip on how can these 3 things can be sorted out effectively and efficiently. Yeah. So let's take a look at this video clip quickly. Take a look at this video clip quickly. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So, demise.
I want you to leave here today saying, I think I'm getting this. Because with this container,
Okay, can you see the video and can you hear the video? Please give me a little feedback.
Yes, Abu Hajar, it's visible.
Okay, I'll continue until the video over. Okay, it will take about almost 5 minutes. Take a look at the video.
because I want you to leave here today saying, I think I'm getting this. Because with this container, this is your life, but your life is a bad planner. And this same size is your life being a good planner, all right? And we're going to start with the good planner, with the bad planner, because if we look at the trivial of our life being represented by sand, and we fill our day first and foremost with the crises and the interruptions and all that kind of can come into our life. There's just so much that our life can contain and produce. Right? Yeah, right. And then we have these medium-sized rocks, which then go in and which represent the extended trivial of our life. It can be all the video games that we could play, or the watch TV, or things which really aren't that important. All right? They're necessary, some of them. You got to cut your grass. You got to go buy a car sometime. Yeah. And then they go into this container. But then we have these rocks. And these rocks are kind of important because they represent the big things of our life. And the first big thing of our life is faith. And this is foundational. But if we put this in last as one of our big rocks, we're going to see how it's hindered. And remember, our unifying principle is to be united with how we perform and live. Because that's got to go. Well, the second thing is family. But as you see, I really can't get the third one in, which is your vocation. Okay? If I put it in, it would fall. Okay? Or just be real topsy-turvy there. Now, if we take the same things, all right, the same three that we put in to this one, which is the bad planner. Everybody say bad planner. Bad. Okay? This is the good planner. As Andy Griffith used to say, good. Can you do that? Ooh, that's good. All right. Now we take faith, our unifying principle, and then we put that in there. Okay? And then we put family. And then we put our vocation in there. All right? Then we put all the other things, which are important to all of us, but they're secondary. Then we put all the little crises and things that just kind of have to be the intruders in our life and all of that. Now just notice this. Just watch this. You see, when we live margin and space in our lives, it just kind of fills in, and we have space that's left over where we can put another big rock into our lives. Isn't that amazing? Like write a book, go on a missions trip, read a book. Okay? And it's just still flat.
Okay, so what we learned from this video, Okay, quickly, what do we learn from this video? Number one is our life is filled with many different tasks. Okay, many different tasks. That's number one. Number two, we need to be able to prioritize. Okay, we need to be able to prioritize which one needs to be done because number three, we have only the same size of beaker. And that beaker is our life, is our time, 24 hours in a day. So if we fail to prioritize, okay, the inability to prioritize, to put things first, and then you will fail miserably because why? Your time will remain 24 hours. Everybody in the whole world has 24 hours in a day. Whether you are a farmer in a remote area in India, or whether you are professionals in Bangalore, or I'm a consultant in Malaysia, or even a president in America, everybody has 24 hours in a day. But what makes one individual become very, very successful with 24 hours, but why another person have the same 24 hours does not make that kind of impact. So it's all about prioritization. And to prioritize, do you agree with me, my dear friends? It's all about self-discipline. Okay. Prioritization, number one, is all about self-discipline. To be able to understand which one is more important to you, to your family, to your career, to your iman, okay, to your community, and the rest become lesser and lesser and lesser significant. Yeah. So you need to put the most priority is what is significant to my iman, to myself, to my family, to my career, to my future, to my community. And then what that's not important, then you can just shut them away. Okay. And that is the fundamental, the basis of self-discipline. Yeah. What makes an individual before the azan has made himself ready to go to the masjid? Because he wants to get the ajar, and that creates the self-discipline. Yeah. But for those who don't care about the ajar, then they will put something else as more important than going to the masjid. Yeah. So this is very difficult to teach. It's very difficult to develop, but it is all about polishing your faith and iman towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. So let us move on in our discussion. We have done on this one. So the video just now talks about self-discipline and able to prioritize the importance of certain tasks, putting things first. Okay, we are done with the video. Okay, so professional Khalifa is a successful leader, and to be successful, we need to understand what are the keys. What are the keys to be a successful leader? So let us explore the successful element to be a successful leader or to be a professional Khalifa. A professional Khalifa must be able to manage. Okay, and management is divided into 2R. Management is divided into 2R, which is the utilization of the resources. How do you utilize the resources? And then from these resources, it brings you to the result that you want to achieve. Okay. So whether it is at home, you have the resources at home, your family members, your food, your time, and then how does that bring into a happy family, for example? As a student, it is applicable. As you know, as a professional, it is applicable. So management is all about the 2Rs, utilizing the resources in order to achieve the desired result. Okay, let's take a look. What are the examples of resources? These are resources: labor, money, time, space, storage, equipment, raw material, energy, technology, knowledge, transportation, go on and so forth. So for a successful Khalifa, you must be able to manage the resources successfully in order to achieve the desired goals. And that desired goal will determine you whether you are effective or efficient. Okay, So you need to be able to manage the following items. And our topic today is talking about time. So we have what we call the time management. We also have what we call the manpower management, financial management, space management, equipment management, material management, energy management, so on and so forth. But today we are going to talk about the time management. And do you agree with me? To a large extent, time management can be the most difficult one. We have a lot of resources to be managed: labor, money, time, space, equipment, raw material, energy, technology, knowledge, and blah, and so on and so forth. But I would like to quote, time management is the most difficult one. Do you agree with me? Okay, so let's just take a look at the chat box. Please put in the chat box. Okay, so for those of you who agree, Mr. Nazir, Mr. Habib, Mr. Khayyam, not at all. If we have self-discipline, yeah, we are talking about if we have self-discipline, everything can be settled. Now we are comparing all the resources. Okay, Mr. Burhan, we are comparing all the resources and we are putting aside on the self-discipline matter. The matters on self-discipline, we are putting it aside. We are comparing all the resources. We're talking about the manpower, we're talking about the finance, time, labor, and everything. And we talk about time is the most difficult one. Okay, so why time is the most difficult one? Why time is the most difficult resources to be managed? Because Habib said we take it for granted. Okay, what else? Because it will not come again. Inshallah, brother, that's very true, because time will never come again. What else? We cannot get it back. We do not know the value of time. According to Brother Burhan, Habib, we cannot stop it. It will not wait for us. It's true. My dear friends, I consider time management as the most difficult one. Number one is what's gone is gone. You cannot take it back. That's number one. And number two is there is not so much flexibility when talk about the amount of time that we have. We can have a lot of flexibility when talk about the amount of money that you want to use, the amount of labor they want to use. But when we talk about the amount of time, there is not so much of flexibility because everybody has a fixed amount of time, 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, and that is fixed. That is fixed, and that makes it difficult to manage. Okay, that's difficult to manage. Okay, I don't want to go into too theoretical in this philosophy. So let us continue with our discussion. Let's continue with our discussion. We are done with this. We are done with this, and I want to erase this one. And let us move on. So we're talking about management. Successful professional Khalifa, a successful leader must be able to manage. And we talk about manage, we manage the resources, and our topic is managing the time. So that is what we are discussing right now. So let us move on. And there are many aspects of management, and time management is one of them. Okay, time management is one of them. Okay, now slowly, my dear friends, we move into the very last topic, and it's going to take a long discussion until the end of our day today, which is what are the techniques and tools in time management. Let's take a look at time management in general. Okay, this is our time in a day, fixed, 24 hours in a week. This is fixed. Okay, and we need to put our tasks, activities, duties, projects, our life, either it is A, whereby this is the amount of time that we have, and this is the amount of tasks that we have to deliver. So we just have what we call it just enough. This is what we call just enough time. Just enough time to complete the task. Sometimes we have situation B. This is the time that we have, but this is the task that we need to complete. And sometimes we have C. This is the time that we have, but the task is C. Now, what do you call this? We have excess of time, the free time. But this one, what do you call this? What do you call this? Yeah, when this is the time that you have, but this is the tasks, the duty, the job that you need to deliver. And what do you call this? Okay, let me clear this one out and blank it out. My dear friend, this is what we call stress. Okay, when the things that you need to deliver is more than the time that you have, that will stretch your capability even more than what you are supposed to do. Okay, and this is where you need to bring it down, and bringing this one down is what we call time and task management. Okay, and then this is what we are going to discuss after this. How do we manage our time and our task? Meaning, my friends, when we talk about time management, it is not about changing this. This is time. Huh? This is the time. Time. Time management is not about changing the time. Time management is all about changing your activity, changing your tasks, and that require, among other things, self-discipline. Okay, it requires self-discipline. Okay, so let us move on. Let us move on. Okay, all right. So when we talk about time and task management, I would like to draw to your attention two very important domains in time and task management. Number one is called urgent, and number two is called important. Urgent is pressing matters that need immediate and special attention. Importance, referring to matters of value and significance to you, to your family, and to your career. So this is fundamental number one that I want to highlight to you so that you can make clear separation. There are things that is urgent and there are things that are important, and those two things are not the same. Urgent may not be important. Important may not be urgent. Why? Because they have different spectrum. Urgency have its own spectrum. Importance have its own spectrum. Okay? So, because of that, we can expand our discussion when we talk about the spectrum in the following four-quadrant Eisenhower matrix. Okay? Four-quadrant Eisenhower matrix. Okay, now very quickly, I want to ask you, how many of you are familiar or how many of you have ever heard about the four-quadrant Eisenhower matrix? If you have heard it before, please type number 5 in the chat box. If not, you have never heard it before, please type 0. If you heard it before, please type 5. If you never heard it before, type 0. Okay? And let's take a look in the chat box. Okay, alhamdulillah. Interesting. Okay. I'm looking at your feedbacks in the chat box, and I would say that about 60 to 65% of you who responded have not heard about the four-quadrant Eisenhower matrix. Okay, so let me go back a little bit. As I mentioned to you, when we talk about the time management. Okay, when we talk about the time management and task management, we talk about urgent and important, and they have the spectrum, and that spectrum can be divided into the following four quadrants. We have the urgent dimension. Okay, this is the dimension of urgent, and then we have the dimension of important. Okay, and urgent have its own dimension. It can stretch into situation of very highly urgent or not very urgent. highly urgent, highly urgency, and low urgency. Similarly, importance, they have highly important and low importance. Okay, so because of that, then we have what we call the four quadrants. Quadrant number one in this column of high urgency and high importance. Quadrant number one. Quadrant number two is over here in a different dimension, in a different spectrum, which is low in urgency but high in terms of importance. Okay, so this urgent and important. Not urgent but important. And then quadrant number three is we call it urgent and not important. And quadrant number four is not urgent and not important. Okay, so I repeat, because this can be quite confusing. This is where we started just now, time and task management. We need to make clear separation between urgency and importance. Urgency is a pressing matter, and importance talk about the value or significance. And we put it into the following two dimensions, and each one of them has the spectrum. Urgency can stretch high urgency and low urgency, and important, they have high importance and low importance. This quadrant is highly, there are four quadrants. Quadrant number one is high in urgency and high in importance. Quadrant number two is not urgent because over here, low, and number two is important. Okay, it is highly urgent, so you put it here, and low in importance, so it's not important. And quadrant number four is not urgent and not important. All right. So, my dear friends, before I proceed at this stage, when talk about the four quadrant Eisenhower matrix, is it clear to you about the separation of four different quadrants? Quadrant one, quadrant two, quadrant three, and quadrant four. Is it clear? Is it clear to you? If it is clear to you, please type number 7 in the chat box. If it is clear to you, please type number 7 in the chat box. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, now I want to gauge your initial understanding first. You may be wrong, you may be right, it doesn't matter. I want you to use your smartphones, and we are going to do a little bit of a survey. Okay, a little bit of survey. Okay. Please scan this QR code. And there is a question pertaining to the four quadrants. Okay, please scan this QR code. And there is a question about the four quadrants. So I'm going to give you like 5 seconds to scan this QR code. And then later on, I want to change this page to the Slido page. Okay, to the page on Slido on the question on the survey. Go ahead for 5 seconds. Okay, so now slowly I'm gonna close this one and I'm gonna go into Slido. Okay, I'm gonna close that one. I'm gonna go to Slido. Give me 20 seconds to go to Slido. Okay. All right, thanks. Okay. So the question is, sorry, can you see the Slido page on the screen right now? Can you see the Slido page on the screen right
yes,
now?
it is seen.
Okay, good. So the question is, which quadrant or Q of time management will help you becoming more effective and efficient transformational and professional Khalifa now and in the future? Okay, so you have to select either one.
Can we
One,
see
two.
that quadrant, please? That box chat.
Okay, sure. I will show you the chat, the box in a short while. Okay. Let me close this one first. And let me show you the quadrant. Okay. Okay. So now you have 4 quadrants. Which quadrant will make you become a successful transformational and professional Khalifa now and in the future? 1, 2, 3, or 4? I'm going to give you 30 seconds for you to give your answer. Okay, 10 seconds left before I close this page, and we are going to go to Slido and take a look at the results. Is it 1 or 2 or 3 or 4? Okay, so I'm going to close this one and turn the page back to Slido. Okay. So far we have 11% responded. Okay, 64% say quadrant number 2, and 36% said quadrant number 1, and 3% say 0, and sorry. Quadrant number 3 is 0%, and quadrant number 4 is 0%. Okay. Okay, so 64% say quadrant number 2, and 36% say quadrant number 1. So which one is correct? We are going to explore later. Okay. Oh, I'm going to give more time. Okay, I'm going to give an answer because some of you still responding. Okay, shall we give another 15 seconds? I'm going to give you another 15 seconds. Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? Okay, I think it should be okay. Okay, we can stop now. So let me snap a photo so that I'll take a photo of this one, then we can refer this one to this one later. We will revisit. Okay, we will revisit this one later. Okay, we'll revisit this one later, and I will give you the answer accordingly. Oh, it's changing now. It's changing. Okay. 57 to 43%. Okay, great. So 14 people responded. So now 15% responded. Okay, and 60% say that quadrant number 2, and 40% says it's quadrant number 1. Okay, we will revisit that one later. Okay, so let us continue. We are done with this. Okay, we are done with this. Okay, now, my dear friends, so when we talk about time management, okay, it may not be that relevant if at one particular time you have only one task at a time. Okay, when you are, for example, when you are busy in the kitchen and you have nothing else to think about, nothing else. You are just doing your cooking in the kitchen. So is that an issue? That is not an issue. You can focus and easy for you to make the decision. And to a certain extent, it makes you feel so happy and you start to smile. See, he is smiling. Happy. So when you have your task at one time, okay, one task at a time, that is not an issue at all. Okay, that is an issue at all. But the issue will rise when you have too many things at one time, multiple tasks at one time, whereby you cannot focus and difficult to make the decision. Yeah. So the time management actually to help us to manage, especially when you have multiple tasks at one time and it is difficult for you to make the decision. Okay, so let's take a look at this quadrant. Okay, my dear friends, we have quadrant number 1, quadrant number 2, quadrant number 3, and quadrant number 4. Slowly, we are going to give you the answer on the survey just now. Okay, between number 1, number 2, 3, and 4, which one should we eliminate first? Okay, which one should we eliminate first? Definitely, you need to eliminate quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. You need to eliminate activities in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. Why? Because of this. Okay, because of this. And in a very famous verse, in the very famous surah, Surah Al-Asr, I believe everybody memorized this surah by heart now. Okay, Auzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr. I want to stop over there. Okay, I want to stop over there, and only the first two ayah. Wal 'asr. Okay, by the passage of time, Allah take an oath about time. And then the second ayah said, surely innal insana lafi khusr. Surely humanity is in a grave loss. Okay, surely humanity is in a grave loss. So when talk about time, my dear friends, when talk about time, Allah begins with khusr, a loss, meaning it is actually, when talk about time, our default setting, default, DEFAULT, our default setting as human being, because Allah mentioned innal insan, not al-mu'minun only, but Allah mentioned innal insan. The default setting is for us to be trapped in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, which will make us at a loss. And then what is the next ayah? Innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus solihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Meaning we need to push it to quadrant 1 and also to quadrant number 2. So what can we conclude? Okay, from this 4-quadrant Eisenhower matrix with this excellent ayah Al-Quran, wal 'asri innal insana lafi khusr. It says that automatically our nafs, our desire, our intention will push us to be busy in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4 on things that is not important. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilus solihat, unless you are the Muslim and you do the amal salih, then you need to push it to quadrant number 1 and quadrant number 2. Yeah. So what I can also draw the conclusion, my dear friends. Okay, my dear friends, what I can draw the conclusion when talk about our gadgets, the smartphones, the iPads, the TV, the television, what else? All the gadgets, they are actually by default to make us busy for the right reasons or for the wrong reasons. Okay, I repeat my question. The gadgets that we have right now, by default, it will make us busy for the right reasons or for the wrong reasons. What does it mean by for the wrong reasons? We do something that is no benefit, no beneficial to us. Nothing value for the future, not important in our life, not important for the family, not important for the ummah. And what do I mean by for the good reasons? When you start reading the Quran, when you enhance your knowledge, when you enhance your communication, when you enhance your relationship with other people. Okay, so coming back to my question just now, gadgets, gadgets, the default setting is to make human being to be busy for the right reasons or for the wrong reasons. The answer for that is see how our little children utilize the gadgets. Not us, not us. Let's take a look at our little children. When they are given the gadgets, will they be busy for the right reasons or for the wrong reasons? Yes, children will be busy for the very wrong reasons. We as parents need to guide them so that this gadget will help them for the very good reasons, for the right reasons. So I draw the conclusion from the ayah that we mentioned this one, wal asr, innal insana lafi khusr, whereby Allah made the oath about time and he said that humanity, he started off, meaning it's a default that we are in a grave loss. Our self-discipline will divert it into quadrant 1 and quadrant number 2. That's what I mean. Yeah. So we need to put, you don't have to teach your children to play games, but you have to teach them to read Quran from the gadgets. Do you agree with me? You don't have to teach them on how to browse to the applications in the smartphones, because that will come automatically. Innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus solihat. How? Bisabr, وتواصوا بالصبر وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Haq, with the truth and with patience. So as a parent, we need to be patient and with haq. Okay, alhamdulillah. So is it clear at this stage, my dear friends? Is it clear? If it is clear, please put number 2 in the chat box. Okay, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So let us move on. Let us move on. So that is the reason why when talk about time management, we need to cross item number 3 and 4 so that we are not busy for the wrong reasons. Okay, we are not busy for the wrong reasons, and then we can really focus on item number 1 and item number 2. So now the question on my survey just now, is it 1 or 2 that will make us become successful as a transformational and professional Khalifa? We will answer that one later. Okay, so let us move on. And again, in Surah Al-Mu'minun, the first 3 verse in Surah Al-Mu'minun, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Qad aflahal mu'minun, successful indeed are the believers. Alladhina hum fi salatihim khashi'un, those who humble themselves in prayer. And number 3 that I would like to highlight to you, walladhina hum 'anil lagwi mu'ridun, who shun vain conversation and action. And this talk about time. The successful mu'min, they have the self-discipline to shun themselves from conversation and action that is not beneficial, not fruitful. So we need to eliminate activities in quadrant number 3 and eliminate activity in quadrant number 4. Okay, so again, let's take a look. What is quadrant number 3 and what is quadrant number 4? Number 3 is important, that is things that is not important but urgent, and not important and not urgent. Okay. All right. So let us explore further. Let us explore further in our discussion. Okay. Like that. Okay. Now let's take a look again at this quadrant. Okay. Now what should we do in quadrant number 1? When things are urgent and important, you have no choice. We have to do it and we have to deliver it. Okay, this is urgent and important. Quadrant number 2 is not urgent but important. What should we do? Okay, for quarter number one, when it's urgent and important, you have to do it and you have to deliver it. For quarter number two, it's not urgent but important. Then what do we need to do? We need to defer it and delay it. And I want to add something over here, also to develop. 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 Okay. Defer it, delay it, and develop. Defer and delay may have close meaning, but there is some glaring differences between deferring and delaying. Yeah, I don't want to go into the detail of language, but there is some difference in terms of its meaning. Now, quarter number three, we talk about things that are not important but urgent. What should we do? We need to delegate it and devolve it. This is a big word, devolve. What is the opposite of devolve? Involve. The opposite of devolve is involve. I-N-V-O-L-V-E. Okay. So involve meaning you do it. Devolve meaning you don't do it, you make others do it. That is a simple meaning of devolve. So things that are not urgent but important. Sorry. It is wrong. It's not. It is my mistake. Let me correct that one. I want to erase this one. Okay. It's supposed to be this. It is urgent but not important. Okay, now it is correct. So things that are urgent but not important, you should delegate it to others. Or if you don't have anybody to delegate it, think how you can devolve it to other people. Delegation is something that you have responsibility and authority over the individual, and devolve is, you don't have any ability for that. Okay. And then finally, quadrant number 4. I want to erase this one. Let me erase this one. Okay. All right. Highlighter. And quadrant number 4 is not urgent and not important. What should you do? If it is quadrant number 1, urgent and important, you do it and you deliver it. If quadrant number 2, not urgent but important, you defer it, delay it, and develop it. Quadrant number 3, if it is urgent but not important, then you delegate it or devolve it. And quadrant number 4, what should we do? What should we do? Quadrant number 4. Okay, quadrant number 4, if it's not urgent, not important, then you have to dump it and delete it. Okay, dump it and delete it. So I want to clear the screen so that it is clear for you to see. Yeah, so we have 4 quadrants. Quadrant number 1, do it and deliver it. Quadrant number 2, defer it and delay it. Quadrant number 3, delegate and devolve it. And quadrant number 4, dump it and delete it. Okay, so this is the main agenda for quadrant 3 and quadrant number 4. When you dump it and delete it, you eliminate it altogether. It's a big arrow at the bottom in comparison to quadrant number 3. A little arrow. Okay, a little arrow because there is something else. Okay, so the main item is for you to bring down significantly quadrant number 4 and to reduce quadrant number 3. So this is the main agenda for quadrant number 3 and quadrant number 4, to bring it down. For quadrant number 1, what is the main agenda? To rush and deliver it. If you have to run, you have to run. If you have to skip your lunch, skip your lunch. Yeah, because you have to do it, you have to deliver it. And what about quadrant number 2? Quadrant number 2 is you need to develop it. Okay, you need to enhance it further. So activities in quarter number 2, things that are not urgent but important is something that you need to develop. You can develop it later. Okay, you can develop it later, maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks, but you need to plan to develop it. Okay. Okay, my dear friends, at this stage, is it clear to everybody? At this stage, is it clear to everybody? If it is clear to you, please type number 8 on the chat box. Please type number 8 in the chat box. Okay, Alhamdulillah. So far, so good, because this is very, very technical. So I have to go very, very slowly. It's very, very technical. I have to go very, very slowly. Yeah, so take a look at the whole picture now. So you have the 4th quadrant. Activities in quarter number 4, you need to dump it and delete it. So meaning it will suppress further. Activity number 3, which is urgent but not important, you need to delegate and devolve it. Activity number 1, you have to rush it. And activity number 2, activity in quarter number 2, which is not urgent but important, you need to defer and delay it later. Yeah. So to make you understand better, quarter number 4 and quarter number 3, I put an icon of fly. Okay, I put an icon of a fly, which later I will elaborate further. Quarter number 1, I put a hamster. Okay, to act as a hamster. Quarter number 4 is a fly. Quarter number 3 is a fly. Quarter number 1 is a hamster, and quarter number 2 is an eagle. Okay, I will elaborate further later on. So let us dissect this detail one by one. Okay, let us. Okay. So
Excuse me, Abu Hajar.
Yeah.
Abu Hajar.
Yes.
We are almost now 12:30 now.
Okay, can I have like 15 minutes?
Actually, the lecture has gone to 1 hour 20 minutes so far. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. It was so interesting that we could not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we have
Please
to go for part 2 then.
Yes, Abu Hajar, please.
Yeah. So I think it is timely for us to stop over here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, it's timely for us to stop over here because if we were to continue later on, then we are going to analyze further for 3, 2, and number 1, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah, sure.
But to give you the answer to the survey just now, which quadrant is significant for your future as a transformational and professional Khalifa? And the answer is quadrant number 2. Because this is where you need to develop. Okay, you need to develop. Okay, Brother Nadir, I think that should be all.
Yes.
Then we have to go for the time management part 2 then, inshallah.
Bismillah, Bismillah.
Inshallah.
Bismillah.
Thank you very much.